Welcome to Washington Football Week with your host, one half of that dynamic duo, Sean Spencer, and South Carolina's finest, Will Craven.
Don't play us if you're undefeated.
Where we celebrate past success while looking to a bright future. There's a youth movement in Washington, and they're ready to take the reins. Led by firefighters.
Play aggressive.
It's a new day. New dawn. No longer the laughing stock. It's time to take them.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that is Let's Talk Football, and one half of that terrific tag team that is Washington Football Weekly. And we're so glad that you're here with us, but you know I ain't here alone. You see this guy right here, South Carolina's finest. And are you guys also about to get hit with this little dump?
I was wondering if you'd see. I got the hoodie on.
I saw the hoodie, right.
T-shirt today. Yeah, man. It's cold in the mornings when we wake up, and we are expecting some ice. So we're not going to get snow, but we are going to get some ice. We are getting some wintry mix. This is
oh man, right. I'm about to say wintry mix is just equivalent of us getting dumped on, because you don't want any cold out there.
Nope, that is correct.
Oh me, yo, Will. So how other than that, man, everything good?
Everything is great here. We're starting week 2 of basketball this Saturday, so we can get our game in. So that's a good time. How are you doing, Sean? What have you been up to?
My arms hurt. Both of my arms hurt because I got a COVID shot and I got a flu shot, and I think they even gave me the pneumococcal pneumonia shot. Like, they were just passing shots out. They said, "You want to do blood tests?"
Jab,
you know,
jab.
Yeah, right. I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but it hasn't been 10 years since I've been to the doctor, but it's been a pretty long time since I've been to the doctor. So, yeah, they were definitely like, "Oh, welcome back, Mr. Spencer. We see you haven't been here in the last 5 years." It was like, yeah. So the doctor was just reading off things. "Oh, yeah, you need this, you need blood work, you need pee, you blah, 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 all this stuff." And I was like, "Really, doc? Really? Yeah. You're just going to need it. We just want to check. You know." But, the one thing I asked about was, I was like, I'm getting to that point where I'm 40 plus. The dreaded word colonoscopy is coming up. Are we having do I got to worry about it? She said, "No, you got 3 years." So I said, "All right, thank God."
Yeah, 45 is still kind of young for that. Not that people want to listen to us talk about that, but
right.
I'll tell you what. Here's a little hint though, since you just got the shots. When the show's over, do some push-ups.
Yeah.
Right. And just like get the blood flowing, and you probably won't feel it the next day. At least that's what's worked for me.
Okay, good. Because right now my arms feel like weights. Like I can't. They're just sitting. You can't hear. They're just resting now because they are hurting.
Now, it could also be your body's in shock because you haven't been doing this. Whereas, so that could be happening too.
I think you might be onto something, because before I went to the doctors, and we're going to get to football, ladies and gentlemen, but I want to say that before I went to the doctors, I went to the dentist. So the dentist numbed half of my mouth.
So funny.
So, needless to say, 2026, I'm trying to get better in my own personal health. And I decided to do it all at once. I wouldn't recommend it, but here we are.
Now, I'm going to give you some applause for doing this. Great job. But also, just so you know, in case you weren't aware, Dr. Amin has a practice in Ashburn, Virginia.
Okay. I might have to hit up our buddy.
And look at this. Nathan has joined us. I hit him up on Twitter to say we were going to be talking free agency. So glad he can chime in on what he thinks we're doing. When we get to it, Nathan, we're going position by position like last week with some thoughts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But look, before we do that, Washington has not been quiet. They have picked up a number of coaching hires. Obviously, we talked last week about, or 2 weeks ago, and technically last week, about David Blau getting promoted to the offensive coordinator. Doug Williams' son, DJ, is hired as the QB coach, working with Blau. But there's several other names that we picked up this week. Will, who are some of the names, and where would they be coaching?
Yeah, so we hired David Blau, made his first official hire as offense coordinator, hiring Danny Etling to be the quarterback's coach.
Is that am I thinking LSU quarterback?
You are correct. Nice job, Sean.
Oh yeah.
So Etling actually played at Purdue first with Blau. So that's how they know each other. Just like Blau, this is his first time ever being a coach, I believe, if I saw correctly. I don't know this guy exclusively. He did play at LSU, but he's supposed to be one of these bright minds type things. Smart player when he played. I mean, he went to Purdue originally, so he can't be a slouch there.
Right.
So that he will be hired as the quarterback's coach. We hired our offensive line coach. And it is a promotion. Darnell Stapleton has now become the offensive line coach instead of the assistant offensive line coach. And he has hired, or we have hired, Shane Toub, Toub, to be the assistant offensive line coach. So essentially, Dan Quinn basically just promoted from within for all these positions, which is what he has preached, that he wanted to have that flexibility. But I don't know these names. What do you think about what do you think about promoting the assistant O-line coach? That seems like the biggest one. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, honestly, going back to what we were saying last week with, obviously offensive, defensive coordinators both going. Obviously, we kind of were questioning DQ a little bit. If in fact this is where he's kind of not necessarily on a chopping block, but the magnifying glass is more on him, that the seat is getting a little hotter, I wonder how confident he is in these moves. Because to your point, I don't know these people. Like I mean, I know Danny Etling because of playing a little bit too much college football and watching too much college football. But some of these other guys, Darnell Stapleton, Shane Toub, I like that they were given an opportunity. But I can't help but look back and think about the last person he gave an opportunity to be their first time being a coordinator, and Joe Witt Jr. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, okay, if you're comfortable with this and you're confident in this, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but we can't afford to have a year like we had last year. So if this is a decision you make, stick with it. Let's go with it and see where it goes. But if it doesn't work out, I mean, what's the leash for them? You know what I mean? Are we going to go the full 17 and then say, oh, it didn't work out? Or are we going to say, oh, okay, 4 or 5 weeks in, it's not working, we're making moves? So I guess that's my concern. Like, how sold is he on this? Because it sounds great that he wants to do this and promote from within. But I guarantee if we have another year like we had this year, his name is going to be one of those on the chopping block. So I wonder how confident he is in this. But to your point, I don't know these guys.
Yeah, my thought is like 2 parts. By bringing in a Blau and this Stapleton, is this an opportunity for Dan Quinn to put his stamp on the offense? Whereas when he hired Cliff, he turned the entire keys over to the house and just said, the house is yours. Do with it what you want. So is that an opportunity? This is what he's looking for, to be more involved. My second thing is, I mean, we didn't really have a great running game. Offensive line, actually, in the last 2 years has played better than what we thought, I believe, but they're not stellar.
No.
So to promote from within is kind of surprising to me. I really thought that they might be going after the guy from Dallas, who's the tight ends coach. I think his name's Lunda Wells. Lunda Wells. There's still a chance we may lose Dave Rye as their tight ends coach. And there's still a chance this guy could come laterally. So, I mean, I was a little bit surprised that we went and hired from within and just promoted from within. Taub was working as a quality coach, and now he's the assistant O-line coach. He actually became a position coach. But my biggest thought here, kind of going back to the Dan Quinn wants to put his staple on this, I think this shows the disconnect that they had in the run game, that Cliff had. And we have not been a good running team for the past 2 seasons.
Right.
Like, you've got Anthony Lynn on the roster right now, although I don't know if you saw, he interviewed for the Bills job today. Yeah. And it wasn't good. And Anthony Lynn came from San Francisco, so we were so excited. Plus, he's already been an offense coordinator. I think this kind of shows that there was something going on there with Cliff and his run game. And what people have been talking about with David Blau is that the pass game and the run game are going to have similar looks to prevent the defense from catching tendencies. So that could be what this is. But, I mean, sitting here in January of 2026, I can't say I'm overwhelmed with these choices that they made. I'm very underwhelmed, and obviously it could all work out, but I'm not sitting here going like, yeah, we got a great offensive line coach.
Right. And to your point on that, like even with the Anthony Lynn thing, like that is also surprising. And not saying I'm against the David Blau hiring. But you have somebody in Anthony Lynn that has been a coach and has had success elsewhere. So it almost makes you wonder, okay, you would rather go to a guy that, it's only been coaching for a couple of years as opposed to an actual coach to kind of work with the run game or maybe the offense like as a whole. I mean, he might stay in-house. We don't know what he's going to do, but it's just weird kind of decision making on that. And it makes you wonder, what kind of weight Anthony Lynn actually held in those meetings and things like that. Was he kind of just along the lines, following Cliff, and he really didn't have much of a say, Right. So, I mean, and that could hurt us in the sense that now we're losing a quality coach because we didn't potentially use him right.
Right. Right. I know I'm with you. And Nathan's asking if we have the, what it takes to work in the system. I still don't think we know what that system's going to be. I think this is the unknown that us as fans we can't answer that. But I do think what you were alluding to also is having someone on staff. And I actually have a separate question we'll talk to about David Blau, but I do think it's really important that they have a senior offensive assistant who can help, because David Blau's never called plays before. And I think it would help to have someone who's done it before. And Anthony Lynn could be this guy that just sort of helps him kind of figure out from a week-to-week basis, like what he needs to be preparing for, and just kind of help him show him the ropes. And that's where, so seeing that Anthony Lynn was being interviewed with the Bills, that does have me slightly worried.
I just said this Harrison Peters.
They
sit in these meetings
indicate that everything is Dan Quinn, that it's Dan's staff.
Right. And so again, that goes to my point that we were making before. Essentially, like now, if they're keeping it on Dan, right? So now this is on you. Now they're making it clear that this is your decision, this is your move. So if this doesn't work, how long are we? And I hate to even start asking these questions. How long are we keeping guys? How long this and that? But I think I just have to echo your sentiments that this does not really promote confidence. When I look at the list, it could work. It could all turn around, and all of a sudden we have a Ben Johnson on our hands. Who knows? But right now, on what is it, January? Early January. This doesn't promote confidence in me. So I'm waiting to see right now.
So stay on that thought process. And what do you think 1 week later, now that Mike McDaniel has been hired by the Chargers, that Jesse Minter has been hired by the Ravens, so who knows, maybe this is where Cliff goes, kind of hearing that Brian Dable may go to Tennessee to join Robert Saleh, but he also really is interested in the Buffalo job. And I think Buffalo is interested in him too. So now that we're at this point where some things have started to get into motion, what are your thoughts now about the team choosing to hire David Blau? Has anything changed in your opinion?
Knowing Dan Quinn and how we know his MO, I want my guys, bringing my players, bringing my coaches, bringing the guys I'm close to. We don't know what relationships he might have with some of those other coaches, but we know if he likes you and you're in his crew, he'll work with you. I guess at this point we just have to have faith in that. We just have to trust that. Ab sent us, and shout out to Ab. He sent us the video of what the guy was crashing out over the fact that we didn't go after McDonald, or we didn't kind of go after one of these bigger names. At first glance, obviously, I feel like, come on, that would be great. We need to bring him in. But I think the one thing that you and I have continued to harp on, and this is Nathan's big thing, and we still don't know, it's what's our identity. So it's hard for us to sit here and say, let's bring in a Mike McDaniel, or let's bring in one of these guys, because are they going to do their identity? Like, what Dan Quinn is defense, and then, what is going to be our thing? So I am willing to give Blau the benefit of the doubt and give him the opportunity to see kind of what he's doing. But I think it would help us if we kind of knew what direction we were going in, because we don't have the weapons. Like, you look at Mike McDaniel and you see what he did in Miami. We don't have that those type of weapons. So we don't know if what he did over there would work with what he did over here. You know what I mean? We don't know how that is. For me, I personally think, like, I'm trying to stay locked in with Dan and say, if this is the decision you make, I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna back you on it. And I just kind of I'm trusting that he knows what he's doing, and as opposed to just saying, I want this guy that has had success here and let's put him in, because that might not mesh, with whatever Dan's got going on. What do you think?
I think the fact that Washington and Detroit have hired guys early sort of shows that they knew there was going to be a lot of competition for some of the bigger name offensive coordinators. And I think in Washington's case, in Dan Quinn's case, he realized that, yes, Mike McDaniel's the biggest name, and I've got a connection to him, and I might be able to bring him in here. But A, he's also going to look for head coach jobs, and B, we are one of the jobs open, along with Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, now Buffalo, Josh Allen,
right?
Let's see here. Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts. The LA Chargers, Justin Herbert. And if he wanted to, he could at Tennessee Titans, potentially even as their head coach, it says in an interview. So we are one of the jobs with a good quarterback. One of them. And I think he saw that there was going to be competition, and he's like, I've got someone in-house that I know, that I've seen, that I like. So why don't I just go with this instead of waiting out? And I also think he knew that Detroit was coming, that if he didn't, unless he got Mike McDaniel, he wasn't going to get David Blau unless he made a decision. I think he knew he had to make a decision, because Detroit, sorry, I didn't mention Detroit, only because they hired the offensive coordinator of Arizona Cardinals for the last 3 seasons, and nobody has enjoyed the Arizona Cardinals offense the last 3 seasons, including Arizona fans. So they're kind of two both underwhelming nationwide hires, but that to me just makes me feel like he knew, like, McDaniel was going to be tough to get, maybe could happen, but they were going to be in competition, and I likely would miss out on this guy if I don't make a decision. And so he said, let's, go with what I know.
And in that, from that standpoint, then it's like, okay, does he, like you talking about, go with what I know? Does he see something that we potentially don't see? Like, we know David Blau, with his play when he was in college, obviously played a little bit here, but he is, a younger, more of a, new coach. But we wonder, what has he been saying in the meeting rooms? How has he been kind of formulating his plan? And like I alluded to earlier, is he the next Ben Johnson? Is he the next was it Bobby Slowick or one of these guys that's like coming in with this new transformative offense that's going to sit here and do big things. So again, I got to go back to the fact that I trust Dan and this is this thing, because to what I was saying earlier, I forgot him and McDaniel are friends.
Yes.
Like seeing them in Miami, like they were very very close and chummy and whatnot. But then I cannot help but think this, because while we've been talking about coaches, obviously LaFleur and Green Bay has been they've been questioning kind of back and forth. Well, my buddy was talking about that. They're probably going to keep him, but obviously that was the question. McDaniel was the question. These are guys that are ex-Washington. Now, mind you, that was that whole time era with Snyder.
Yeah.
But still, you wonder if maybe they said, maybe I don't want to go to Washington. Maybe you think there's a little.
I don't think they give two shits about us.
You don't think they care? Okay, yeah, okay.
I don't think they care too. I don't think coaches care about the organizations at all. I think they look at the job and what it is. And I was going to also say, Nathan, thank you for correcting me. It popped up on my Twitter and then left, and I thought it said that they hired him, but they had a second interview. I mean, people are expecting Minter to go to Baltimore. And then I think, Nathan, you're going to get Cliff as your offensive coordinator.
Oh, my goodness. Come on now.
But Speaking of coordinators, though, let's talk defense.
Well, hey, real quick. Speaking of the division, and Nate, you're here, and I've talked to you about this. There was a new hire in New York.
Yes.
Harbaugh's over there. Yeah, I can't stand it either. I was saying the same thing. Does this worry you?
Yes.
I tried to tell Nate, and Nate was saying, "Nah, man, you should be good. Lucky for you." I was like, "What?" He's been having y'all dominating for the last several years, and I don't need the Giants to be good. Come on now.
No, the Giants are not going to be what the Giants have been since Tom Coughlin left with John Harbaugh there. Is he going to get them to the Super Bowl? Who knows? Is Jackson Dart the quarterback? Who knows? But I think there'll be a whole lot more respectability. Is that even a word? Respectability? I don't know. If it's they will be much better, much improved.
Yes. No, it doesn't. Come on now. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh man. So all right, keep going. Let's talk about this defense.
Yes, we got defensive coordinator discussion. First and foremost, two guys have been removed. The Falcons have retained Jeff Ulbrich the way they wanted to, hiring Kevin Stefanski. And just before we got on the show, Brian Flores has signed with the Vikings. The option that he still can interview. I think he's supposed to interview with the Steelers or has had an interview, so he's still open to be a head coach. But he has signed with the Vikings, which this is where I never got super excited over Flores interviewing with us. I never thought we were a candidate. Why would you leave Minnesota to come to Washington, who has nothing on defense? Hence what we're about to talk about in the next segment. So that kind of trims it down. Now there's a couple guys that have interviewed for the job already. Denard Wilson, he was the defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. Now they just hired Robert Saleh, so he probably does not want to work with him since he was working with an offensive coach. And so Saleh has actually said he will call the plays this year. The mistake he made with the Jets was becoming a CEO. We interviewed Joe Cullen, who's the defensive line coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what Chris Jones gave the eyeball look. Yeah. Raheem Morris is available, although Green Bay has an opening for defensive coach. The LA Rams might have an opening for a defensive coordinator if Chris Shula goes to Pittsburgh or somewhere else. So I think there's some opportunities with some connections there. I believe we have interviewed Carl Scott, the defensive backs coach for the Seattle Seahawks. And it just was announced before we got on the show that Al Harris is interviewing with us, or we have asked to interview him. He interviewed today with Green Bay. So those are some of the names that are out there. Obviously, I don't think you and I know every single name here, but is there something that you're looking for out of a defensive coordinator, or is there somebody you're like, that is who I would select? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think the name Al Harris is something that we've all been kind of accustomed to. He's something we wanted to get last year, and so it does definitely makes me excited to think that we could potentially be interviewing him and look in his direction. Um, obviously, we talked with Ab about Flores last week. I mean, obviously, chances of us getting him, I don't think, I think are pretty slim. Um, and you talked about Albrecht. I honestly, for me, defense to me is a little different under Coach Quinn, because as we saw in the end of the year, and we know his calling card, Coach Quinn, once he took over, things changed. And if Coach Quinn is trying to do the defense by his way, I think he might kind of go in the same way that we've done on the offensive side, where he's just kind of bringing in somebody that can help his scheme along, as opposed to bringing in somebody that's doing their own thing. So I'm wondering, kind of what input Coach Quinn's going to have. And with that being said, I mean, look, some of these names, Harris is the first guy, and that's coming from last year. I mean, it'll be interesting. But other than that, I mean, I'm not as familiar with some of these other names, but it's going to be very interesting because we know that Quinn does defense is his thing, and we know how he likes to run doing defense. So if he does bring in somebody, if he brings in a Flores, and Flores is most likely going to take over that. But if you bring in somebody that maybe was a D-line coach, or maybe was a lesser coach, then maybe who knows how much input Quinn will have in the whole thing. So for me, I really would love to know what Quinn's involvement is. But the name that really sticks out for me is Harris, for sure.
Yeah. So I think, Al Harris is the guy we wanted to bring in last time, and Dallas blocked it. So the fact that he's available now certainly has people intrigued. One of the things I'm concerned about is just what you were mentioning. How much does Dan Quinn want to be involved? Because we already know he's got a first-time offense coordinator. Should he be bringing in a first-time defense coordinator too?
Right.
That's a lot of faith here. Like Ben's asking, hey man, we're getting the vibe that this may be Dan Quinn's last season coaching if things don't go well, and you're about to put all your eggs in the basket of people who've never called plays on offense or defense. That's a little concerning. So that's where I kind of look at the Raheem Morrises, the Denard Wilsons. Actually, I forgot to mention Patrick Graham, who's coming from the Raiders, and we all were like, pass. But apparently he was a pretty good defensive coordinator with the Giants, and they just didn't have enough talent other than their pass rushers, and so he got burned by it. So he could be someone. I think you said something a whole lot though that rings true, that I've heard a couple of journalists say, where they say, what type is Dan Quinn trying to have this be an extension of his defense? And that is what a couple people have mentioned, that this is likely not going to be something brand new. So that may rule out a Denard Wilson, and you could be looking at a Raheem Morris or an Al Harris, like you mentioned. Someone who knows, what does Dan Quinn want? What he's already teaching. But the fact that bringing in someone like Al Harris, who's never called plays before too, that's like trying Joe Witt again. There's some concern there.
Exactly, and that's what I think we all have to wonder is kind of, is he scarred is not the right word, but is he affected by the fact that he did go on the limb, put Joe Witt Jr. out there? The first year, we overlooked the fact that our defense was struggling because how well their offense was doing, and the defense did enough, and then it reared its ugly head this year. So you wonder if he's kind of at, and then saying, I'm not going to let that happen again. And again, that also, I think, goes to how serious is he concerned with keeping his job? Because if you're really concerned with keeping your job, then okay, it's on me. I'm going to go back to coaching the defense. And it's like you're saying, let's bring in a guy that can fit and help me get my agenda across, as opposed to bringing in somebody that's saying, I'm putting in my thing and we're going from here. So I really want to know where Dan Quinn's mind is at with all this stuff. But it doesn't give me a vote of confidence that again, we're going with some of these, or it looks, at least appears that we're going with some of these no-name guys, or some of these guys that are with less experience, and trying to replicate, because essentially what we're trying to replicate is 2 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? At least playoffs, but absolutely championship. We've seen how far we can go. So now it's kind of like you would rather have something established, but I got to trust in a guy that, I got to trust that Dan Quinn may be sitting here like Deron Payne when he was in his contract year, going off in 11.5 sacks, playing his butt off and doing all this. I got to think that Dan Quinn is at that point where it's kind of like, okay, who knows how many more opportunities I'm going to have at head coach. So this last year, I got to make sure that was just the asterisk. That was the outlier. Everything else is the norm. So it'll be interesting to see how his urgency in the matter.
Yep, I'm with you.
Oh yeah. You want to get into free agency now?
I'm ready.
Let's do it, babe. Real quick before we do that, we got to shout out our guy Anton Benton, creator of Awesome Artisans. Definitely want to check him out and check out Will Kramer's saxophone solo. Hey, we'll be right back. Yeah, buddy, that is our guy, Anton Benton, founder, creator, and that is on Instagram, awesome_artisans. Definitely get in touch with him. He lives in the Virginia Beach area. That's 757, travels up and down the coast, and will also go to the Midwest. So definitely get at him. Does great work. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Washington Football Weekly with your boy Sean Spencer. That's my guy, South Carolina's finest, Will Kramer. We've been talking about these coaching hires on offense and the potential hires on defense. But hey, we know a lot of times coaching is X's and O's. But if you don't have the Jimmies and the Joes, then you better be a truly amazing coach. And right now, it looks like we're getting younger guys, so we need to have those Jimmies and those Joes. And we have to start at probably one of the biggest part. To sit here and say this is the biggest hole in our defense would kind of, I can't say that's true, because I think it might have been equal all the way around. We had holes in every level. But edge rusher is something that we talked about a year ago, talked about 2 years ago. We never fully addressed it, maybe the way that we wanted to, although we had success with Dante Fowler Jr. a couple years ago. Jacob Martin played decent this year, but this is definitely something. And Von Miller also played pretty well. Yeah. This is definitely an area, though, that we have been wanting Washington to address. And for me, we got to hit this. I think 2 years ago we talked about we need an O-lineman. We didn't get it till last year. Last year we talked about an edge. Maybe this is the year we go ahead and make that happen. The question, Will, is do you try to spend up? Do you try to go after maybe a Hassan Reddick, who you said you wanted a couple years back, or maybe even, people say we have all this money. Do you put a sizable chunk of money on getting a Trey Hendrickson? You know what I mean? Who are you looking at this position? Something that we definitely have been trying to focus on.
Sean, let me tell you something.
Come on.
We're about to play some Madden free agent shopping tonight.
Let's go.
And not only am I making splashes, I am jumping off the high dive with my
Let's
splashes.
Go.
So starting off at edge, this is a priority position that we have to upgrade. They know that.
Yeah.
They tried last year what to do to get thicker, and Wise got hurt game 2, so who knows what the the game plan would have been for the season. But it is said by everybody that the games are won in the trenches, and you have to have a stout offense and a stout defensive line. And we don't have that on defensive line, and we definitely have a problem at edge. We have nobody that can consistently get to the quarterback and consistently be someone that the offense needs to key in on. So yeah, I am willing to go after something here. We need to have a new starter in 2026 opposite Dorrance Armstrong, but also Armstrong is going into the final year of his contract, coming off a torn ACL. So we may need to have some options as well, or give ourselves some flexibility that come the draft, we have something in place and can also be looking at what is Armstrong's replacement. So yeah, there are some big names out there. So Trey Hendrickson is one of the first names you mentioned. He is one of the older one. He didn't play a full season, but I think he did he play 7 games and he already had 4 sacks? I was looking at stats earlier. I'd have to look it up. He was being productive in the games that he had. So yeah, he got hurt. That can happen when you're older. Terry also got hurt. No surprise there. The 2 guys that held out in training camp got hurt.
Yep.
But they were producing. But there are a couple other names for us to look into. Jalen Phillips from Philly or Miami Dolphins is a free agent. Kwity Paye from the Colts is a free agent. So those, I think, are guys that they have a lot more production, and so they're going to get paid pretty well. Kind of looking at what happened last year with the Josh Sweat type contract that the Cardinals had to give. So he got paid pretty well. If you want to look at someone who's been part of a rotation, and so maybe would be looking to get a little bit more playing time before, there's Kingsley Enagbare of the Packers. Now, all 3 of these guys are a little bit smaller. I think Paye may be around that 260, 270, whereas Phillips and Enagbare around like 250. So just kind of thinking about how the concern with Fowler was he was too light to play the run. Right. Just kind of keeping that in mind. And then I think you may want to bring back one of the Jacob Martin Von Millers just because they both produced. I mean, Von Miller had, 8-9 sacks this season?
Right.
So, I mean, he was actually fairly productive, and you can always use more, the depth chart and rotating guys in, but we got to pay here. We got to bring someone in. And not only if you bring someone in as a free agent, it just could provide a little bit more flexibility when it comes to the draft. I've said some names. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, if I'm paying up, if I'm trying to really pay up for it, Hendrickson is somebody that I'm definitely eyeing. We know he's frustrated where he's at. Yes, it's going to cost us a pretty penny, but if we're going Madden, then yes, I'm making that move because we know the impact that he's going to have once he gets in there. Another guy that I'm a huge fan of, and both these guys are over 30, but I've always been a fan, Leonard Floyd from Atlanta. Edge. Yes, he's been, almost, it's been 9 years, he's 33, whatever. But, you cannot replace the production. And these guys they're hungry. They want to play. If these guys can get paid, I'm all for bringing in one of those, or even in Nico Autry, from Houston. But if I also want to go affordable and I also want to look, I love, we've talked about this guy, why he got drafted a couple 3-4 years ago, Azeez Ojulari. You and I have mentioned his name multiple times. Odafe Oweh, another guy that's been mentioned throughout the time. Some of these guys that you can potentially get that are quality guys and you can fill in, and then maybe that would open up the door for you to be able to get one of these guys that is a little bit more money. AJ Epensa from Buffalo, solid guy, was able to produce and whatnot. I do think we got to make a blockbuster move here. I think we got to make a move, especially if we're going to keep a Von Miller, which I'm okay with. We've seen Von. Right now he's playing mercenary. Okay, who's going to give me the money, and who, what kind of incentives? What can I get for doing X, Y, and Z? And we showed he might have only played a handful of snaps each game, but when he played, He still has that dip. He still has that bend around the corner. He was able to disrupt the backfield, disrupt the quarterback. So cool. Now let's bring in a guy that's going to play all the downs. Let's bring in a guy that's going to play a lot more snaps, and then potentially let's surround him with some better guys. Like you and I both know, we're looking at what's it called, New York with Burns and Thibodeau and Carter and those guys. We're looking at Philly with Big Baby Davis and Walker, all these other guys, and then obviously Dallas, they picked up the dude from the Jets. Like, so all of these guys have strong D lines, and that's the one thing that we are truly lacking. We need to make moves. Now, who knows what we're gonna do? Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about potentially getting rid of Daron Payne, and who knows what kind of money that will free up if that happens. But this needs to be a main focus. In my opinion, this has to be a number one focus, because 2 years, what have we struggled with? We struggled with running the ball and stopping the run. This is the year we have to figure this out, because the run game it's just going to get better in the division. We have 3 quarterbacks that we're facing that are mobile and that can throw. And then they all have decent running backs. Saquon, Javonte Williams, and then okay, maybe you have Tracy. Maybe you don't have that dominant in New York, but we know how Harbaugh likes to use his running game and likes to use his backs. So we have to focus on this. So I to be honest with you, I love making a big splash move, potentially for Hendrickson, potentially for a Floyd or a Denico Autry. But I also want to pick up some other moves where it's not so much we're depending on one guy, but we do kind of go back to 2 years ago where it was by committee. And yeah, you had Dante Fowler play well and get all the sacks or whatever, but everybody played a part. And that's what I think we need. Keep those bodies fresh, and then, keep kind of circulating them in there. So yeah, I'm going big right here.
Right. I'm with you. And I'm also thinking about the draft with this, because if you don't bring in someone that you can be like, that's going to be a Washington starter, you're kind of tipping your hand. Yeah. And you're also letting other teams know that, well, Washington's probably going edge here. So if we want a guy, if you want a David Bailey, if you want a Ruben Bain, you got to jump us in the draft if we don't have some type of flexibility. But more importantly, we've got to improve the talent. Like you said earlier about the Jimmies and the Joes. Look at what Philly did, and you said it in the Giants. They've got more than just – it's not just starter on the right side, starter on the left side, and we're good. They rotate players in, and that is what I think we need, more talent, so that if someone does go down, we don't completely fall apart the way we did this season. So I'm with you. Right. We got to spend some money on the edge. You want to talk interior? You want to talk defensive tackle?
Yeah. Let's get inside.
So there's a lot of speculation that Daron Payne is going to be cut or traded. And that's because he's got an escalator in his contract this year. I think it goes up to like $26, $28 million. And it's true that his play is not worth that. But I also want to throw this out. It was said, I think Al Galdi said it, that he spoke with scouts. Daron Payne is the only person on this defense that scouts say that they make sure that they know where he is on the field.
Yes, exactly.
So if you cut him, if you trade him, you now have created a hole that you have to fill. So could it be something where an extension, you lower the cap number, you sign him for another 2-3 years, and so you keep him, maybe what he's currently at right now, which is around 16 to 18 million, something like that. So you keep him kind of where he is, but you extend it. But I think you need to add to it. I'm not throwing out Johnny Newton, but he is a smaller guy, and so I don't think he is your replacement. I think he's part of a rotation. I don't really know too many players, and we won't know until we get the defensive coach in. But I think we need somebody with size in the middle. Somebody that 2 offensive linemen need to block. Otherwise, Otherwise, that running back is going to run into it, or he's going to make a play, or the linebackers are going to make a play because he is taking up too much space. That's what I think we need. We brought in Eddie Goldman out of retirement this year. He was around like 330, 340. We're looking at like a Neville Gallimore. We're looking at a big guy in there. He's not there to play more. He's not there to be there on third down. Johnny Newton could come in and rush the passer, but first and second down when they could be running, we need somebody with a big old space eater.
100%. 100%. So yeah, I'm there with you. Did you where did you look as far as age, youth? I know we were talking about size, but like when you look at like a DJ Reader, when you look at maybe a Larry Ogunjobi, you know, what are you thinking? Because for me, you know, I 100% want size, 100% want that, but I also want somebody that's going to work their butt off. And then I'm going to bring in a name that is very cheap. This is not the big blockbuster move, but it's a name we're very familiar with, and that's Tim Settle. You know, went to Buffalo. Now I think he's in Houston.
Yeah,
plays his role, plays his part. Great depth piece when he was with us. He did whatever we needed and kept it quiet and went off. We didn't like that he left. Let's bring him in. I mean, this is just pieces. If we're talking about, hey, let's pick up this, let's pick up that. Let's bring in, you know, somebody like that. Maybe even and I know this guy is super old, a Brandon Graham, and just having that veteran in house. You know what I mean? Now, as far as getting a guy, I think maybe like I love a DJ Reader. I do. I don't think Detroit's gonna make sure they lock him up. But if he were to get out, I mean, yes, I would be all for that. A Sheldon Rankins potentially. You know, bringing in some size, but also some skill and some speed. Knowing me, I'm just sentimental and I love my guy. So Calais Campbell, I understand he's grandpa. I understand he's older, but I do think one of the things that we could benefit from, and we have benefited from, is having that veteran leadership. You know, I'm not advocating that we go all George Allen and bring the over the hill gang in here, but having some of those guys in house, we've talked about we need to focus more on development. These guys might end up helping to get younger guys, and then also might help to build us some time if we in fact get a D lineman in the draft or something like that.
Right. So I'm with you. Like more bodies wouldn't hurt. I mean, we love Tim Settle. You know, we're a big fan of him. So you know, you bring him in and let him be part of the rotation. I think that's good. Yeah,
and it's affordable. It's good prices. But outside of that, I mean, like I said, DJ Reader or somebody.
Yep.
I mean, would you take a flyer on Cam Jordan? 14 years in the league, he's 36, only making 6 right now.
Was he with New Orleans?
Saints. Yeah.
I almost feel like I want to go younger. I almost feel. I mean, Cam Jordan would work from the sense of if you're also drafting. You know, someone in the first round, like that would be, you know, he could mentor, he could be part of it. How did he do last year? He had 10.5 sacks. Holy smokes. Why am I saying no to that?
Yeah. I mean, with him, I mean, he can still play. That's the one thing. And I will not lie. I also was kind of thinking if we do happen to keep Lattimore, maybe he can light a fire into Lattimore because he's talking. I know. I understand. I'm 100% with you. I was with you before this guy even played a snap for us that I don't want to keep him. But if we do keep him, maybe a Cam Jordan can get this guy a little more fired up. I don't know, man. But those two names, him, Campbell, those are names out there. But I'm really looking at a guy like a Sheldon Rankins. You know what I mean? Yeah. Somebody that is a part of a good defense that is willing, that's going to play up, and you put him in there, and with, you know, maybe if we do keep a Daron Payne, you put him in there. That, I mean, we might have that two-headed monster that we had before with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. You know, now obviously they kind of fell off towards the end, or you know, with the injury to Jonathan Allen, but still having those pieces there, I think would be it would be beneficial to us, man, because we got it. We have to stop that run game, and we need guys that can get that done.
Right.
So.
Well, you asked me about ages and stuff right now. I'm not as concerned about age, only because I think we need to also be building through the draft with this for the next 2 years, 3 years. So, like, I don't mind if you do a 1-year flyer on an old guy, know that we're going to draft somebody and kind of work him in and that type of stuff.
Right. Oh, yeah, I'm with that. All right, now let us move on to a position that is going to rear its ugly head, and hopefully not this year, but might just do that. Linebacker. Obviously for us, Wagner and Von Miller, both free agents in there. Jake Martin, another one. So let's start there. Who are you bringing 1, 2, or 3 of those guys back? Are you moving on from those guys? If you do bring it back, is it a 1 year? Like, what are you thinking with the older guys?
I'm willing to look at Jacob Martin and Von Miller because they can be part of our pass rush.
Yep.
Actually, I put them on edge, even though they are listed as a linebacker.
Mm.
But this is a big position, and we have to have someone who, at the middle linebacker, is able to play all 3 downs. All 3 play multiple levels. Bobby Wagner proved once again that he is very, very serviceable out there, but he also showed he's very much a liability in the pass game. He is stout in the run game. He is a problem in the pass game, and teams were targeting him with routes. And the problem with the passing game is, unlike when we used to play Madden, and they would run on first and run on second.
Yep.
And then throw on third. Like, unlike the Von Miller role, where, okay, we're in a passing situation, they're in a passing situation, you go in and rush. We don't know what's going to happen. And so I think you have to move on from Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
Because you can't have Frankie Louvu out there and Bobby Wagner, who now you've got 2 guys who are not good at covering. If you're only going to have 2 linebackers out there. Now we have Jordan McGee, who they like. We don't know if he's ready to take over as the signal caller, or is he more the athletic type Frankie Louvu role, where, like, just go chase the ball. Just, your job is to show your speed. So I think we really need to prioritize this position as well. I mean, this defense, we have to bring in. I'm looking at bringing in starters at every single level of the defense. To improve them. So the first move I'm making is I'm not bringing back Bobby Wagner, which is tough. But I've got to move on from it. I'm looking to go young here. My first thoughts is Devin Lloyd from the Jaguars.
Yep.
Maybe we can sneak him out. He was a first-round pick. One that I was a little bit surprised with, I would want to know if people could find out a little more about him, but Devin Bush had a big year in Cleveland, monster year. It's like, did he finally reach his potential after like 6 seasons in the league? You've got, Quay Walker, who is coming from Green Bay. Yeah. Very athletic. Nakobe Dean's a free agent from the Eagles. I don't know if he's too small, undersized. So those are some younger guys. There is the Matt Milano of Buffalo has had a great career. He is getting up there in age. Alex Anzalone from Detroit, great player, getting up there in age. But we got to bring in somebody, and I think we got to spend here.
Oh, 100%. Now, as far as you talking the youth and the younger guys, I go back to a guy that you and I harped on coming out of the draft. We talked about him, Troy Anderson. Obviously, 27, only played 3 years. That is somebody that I would want to get in, and I'd want to, kind of maybe get him to learn, maybe get him to see, how he can get acclimated in the system. Definitely love Devin Lloyd. Devin Bush, love his game. Okay, love his game. In a past relationship, I was actually taught to hate the man because he's a Michigan guy, and I think he's the guy that when the Michigan State guys were doing their walk, he's sitting here and taking his cleat to their stadium and everything. So I have a little mixed relationship with him, but the guy can play. He absolutely can play. So I would love to bring him in. But listen, you know me, man. I'm somebody that's sentimental. I'm somebody that when a man leaves, I'm like, don't leave. And if we can get a chance to bring him back, you know where I'm going. The hair is flowing. Okay, you want Anzalone? I want Cole Holcomb, baby. Bring back my guy Cole. Played 5 years, still under 30. We can pay him. He's affordable, and the guy will hustle. Might not be the fastest, but he will hustle. Yo, am I back?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So Cole Holcomb is my guy. I would absolutely love him. And I'd go with you. Von Miller has proven he can play. He can still play. And especially if you keep him kind of how we did it this year on a pitch count. And Jacob Martin has shown signs. I have to agree with you on Bobby Wagner. I just don't feel like we already in the last 2 years we're playing with borrowed time. We're already, playing with house money with him, and he has absolutely answered every bell. But we've also noticed that he has a glaring hole in his speed, and he's been getting exposed. He is. So I don't even want to fix my mouth to say that we should not re-sign him because I didn't think we were going to get him in the first place. Yeah. But realistically, I think it is that time to potentially move on. The guy can still play, but no, it's going to be hard. And then outside of that, I like, and this is a theme for me. I'm a huge fan of Atlanta's defense, so I like Caden Ellis. You know what I mean? I like a younger guy, 30. So, but still a quick guy, a guy that can get in there, play the run, play the pass, like something that could be beneficial for us. I love their defense in Atlanta. Maybe that was more Ulbrich than the players, but the players, they were doing their thing as well. So yeah, that's in my direction. Milano and Anzalone, absolutely love those guys too. But yeah, definitely bringing Von Miller and Jacob Martin back. But give me my guy Cole Holcomb. Give me Cole Holcomb.
No, because you said exactly what the reason why. He's not the fastest. And that's the problem we have right now on defense is we're not fast enough, though.
He's got heart. All I need is heart.
And if he wants to play backup, that's fine. That is fine. But
I'm good with that. He can play special teams.
Like you said, it kills me to say we shouldn't bring back Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
But it's just we've got to get faster there. But here's another thought. I think we have to give Frankie Louvu a pass this season. He actually even mentioned that he played out of position because of all the injuries and was asked to do things he's not normally used to. But this is his last season on his contract. What if, you got Jordan McGee? What if you're able to break in somebody like a Troy Anderson, or you bring in a Devin Lloyd? Like you swing for the fences on this. What if you try and bring in somebody else and get rid of Louvu? He's also not good in pass coverage. So do you get ahead of losing this guy? It's too bad Ab's not here. He'd be like, I've been telling you all this.
Right. Exactly.
Do we move on from Louvu this offseason as well and just basically revamp the entire linebacking core? And McGee's out there all 3 downs. We bring in Devin Lloyd and you mix in somebody else here and there. Cole Holcomb can play occasionally if we need to.
Yes. If it means Cole Holcomb can play, then yes, get rid of him. Gotcha. No. And again, I am 100% in agreement with you that he does deserve a pass because he was having to fill in other spots because it was needed. So he wasn't able to run as freely as he was 2 years ago. So, I would give him a pass on that. But to your point about his coverage and just, I don't know, for however great he was a couple years ago, if we put him back and then he's able to just kind of roam free and do his thing, I wonder how much of that freedom that he had was because of Bobby Wagner being in the middle, being that coach, that quarterback in the middle, and kind of being like, okay, I got this. Even if we knew he was gonna get torched by a running back, But we didn't have to worry about that because Luvu was coming quick off the edge, so the quarterback didn't have that time to spot the running back or things like that. And we had Fowler, and we had a couple guys that were making the quarterback uncomfortable. So keeping Luvu, I would like if we have a fully healthy team and he has some support up front. If we don't really get much support up front and kind of stay with this, I do think we got to kind of revamp that. And I would potentially look at the draft, like you and I talked about. Or, I mean, there's a number of names here that we've mentioned and some that we haven't mentioned that I think could come in and breathe a little bit of new life into Washington. And that would definitely help. Again, he's one of those that I'm not excited about potentially moving on from, but I can understand it.
Right.
You know,
right.
I personally, I think I would probably try to re-sign him for one more year, especially if I'm getting rid of Wagner. But I can also be okay with seeing him go.
I also don't think he's that great of a pass rusher of a blitzer. I think he's okay. You know, I don't know. Like if we got rid of Luvu because we signed other players, I think I'd be okay with it. If we get rid of Luvu and we haven't done anything come draft, I may be a little nervous.
Yeah.
But if we have replacements that they create in-house or bring in, then I may be fine with moving. I would probably be hurt more not bringing back Wagner than Luvu.
Yeah. Truthfully. Yeah. I'm with you on that. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to cornerbacks and secondary. A couple big names. Trayvon Diggs out there, Jamel Dean, Jimmy Ward, Darius Slay, a couple of those big guys. Greg Newsome is out there. Tre'Davious White, potentially. Mr. Benjamin St-Juste.
He is.
Not doing that. Jeff Okudah. There's a number of names that we can kind of go at, and because we already kind of feel like Mr. Lattimore, here's the door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is this another place where you're spending up, or you are? Okay. Yeah. What are you thinking here?
So here's the biggest thing we have to figure out. Where is Mike Sanders still playing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And from there, you can then decide where you're going. The reality is not good. And the reality is that for the past 2 seasons, Mike Sanderson has started as our nickel corner inside covering slot receivers and struggled.
Yeah.
And then due to injuries and inefficiencies by other corners, he's moved outside where he has played better. I think he once again led us in interceptions, but he is a size liability out there.
Yeah. Yep.
And and we have to go up against the dude from the Giants. I've already forgotten his name.
Oh, yep. Neighbors.
Right now, we have to go against A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in the future, but Philly will replace him.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go up against CeeDee Lamb. If they re-sign George Pickens, both of those guys can just outmuscle him, outsize him. It's not his fault. So you either need to determine where they put in center still.
Mm-hmm.
Or they need to figure out, is this guy not going to make it in the league because if he's not making it as a nickel guy, because he probably can't play on the outside.
Yeah.
So, I'm bringing in an outside corner, and you know who I'm going with.
Who are you going with?
I was pounding my desk 4 years ago for this guy. Tariq Woolen.
Yep.
Is coming in, is who I'm spending money on. If I can't get him, I'm getting Greg Newsome, like you just said. If I can't get him, this guy trash talked and got burned by Jaden, but Cam Taylor-Britt has some size in Cincy.
Yes.
Those are my 3 names.
Love all of those. So real quick, because on the list right above Cam Taylor-Britt is our guy. Speaking of, resigning Noah Igbinoghene, do you take a chance to sign him for depth? Yes. And you bring him back? Okay, yeah,
I do. But there's something up with him. Like they got frustrated with him this year. And look at him; he's only 26 years old. I don't get it.
Right. He definitely did not have the year that he had 2 years ago, and I definitely wonder kind of what their thoughts are concerning him. But I love him. I've been a fan. Because of how he's played. But again, we'll see what they do in-house. Love the size of Taylor-Britt. Rasul Douglas out of Miami. We can get him for a good price. D. Alford out of Atlanta. A couple names just if we're just throwing it out there. But for me, love me some Jeff Okudah. Always been a fan of that guy. Newsome, to that point. Love that. Big play Slay. Now, we know our boy Terry has been able to get to him a number of times. And we know recently he hasn't been as great as he once was. He's a little older, yes. But we took a chance on an older guy in Lattimore, and that didn't work. Could Biggs play? Would you take a chance on Big play Slay?
He's getting up there in age.
Yeah, he is.
Because I feel like if you go Slay, you have to be able to draft his replacement, and I don't think we have the assets this year. I think we have to bring in like a Slay would start, but you have to be bringing in your starter here. You got to be solidifying this corner position, and the way you kind of build your roster with these, where you have two starters in position groups, is one's expensive, one's cheap.
Right. Right.
And then here, and then the Trey Amos.
Well, and then that's the other thing. Having a Trey Amos, and we're pretty sure I think they were pretty good with him until the injury. We can put him on one outside, and then it's also, do we look in the draft? Do we try to see if there's somebody that we can go ahead and scoop up in the draft and not have to worry about potentially paying a quarter and then maybe going into the secondary. I mean, that's something we can think about.
Right.
And I think a lot of that has to do with who we get at DC and what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Let's real quick. Let's go to safety. What are you thinking, man? Are you potentially bringing back your boy Cam Curl? Are we looking at a Kevin Byard out of Chicago? Like, what are you thinking at safety? Well, first and foremost, who are you keeping? Because I think nobody's up for re-signing for us, right?
Yeah, we don't have to at safety. Yeah. However, I don't think we can at all tell anybody that your position is safe.
Yeah.
Quan Martin he regressed, and I feel like anytime we had a tackle on the sideline that got missed, it was by Quan Martin, and 40 more yards got ran by whoever had the ball, whether it was a running back or receiver.
Yeah.
So he was a major disappointment. Will Harris was incomplete because he got hurt until the season was over when he came back. So we really don't know. So I mean, I'm up to anything in free agency. Cam Curl, I bet you he would tell us to shove it because we let him. We didn't even go after him.
Yep.
And we didn't even call him. It seemed like.
And then he gets the daggone game-winning interception in the divisional playoff game. God,
I'm looking at a guy I loved coming out of Penn State in the draft a couple of years ago in Chicago, Jaquan Brisker.
Yes.
I got big guy who made some big money in Arizona is Jalen Thompson. So I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at my guy.
I knew it.
You're darn right. I'm looking at Nick Cross. Like, I don't mind if they brought in a starter here. I don't think any of the two safeties should say that their job is solidified. I will say this: if you bring in people at other positions, edge, linebacker, corner, and leave our safeties where they are, that opens yourself up to some flexibility in the draft. At number 7, do you look at the kid from Ohio State?
Yeah.
Solidified
Downs.
So do we want to spend money on a Jaquan Brisker if we got our eye on a Caleb Downs?
Right. And that's my thing. Like I right here, I feel somewhat confident in what we got back there. So if I'm not really, unless somebody else maybe jumps out, I mean, I'm not really looking at this position. Especially with where we're drafting at, unless we are looking to potentially get the Jeremiah Love and getting the run game. I would not have a problem with us getting Caleb Downs. I would not have a problem with getting somebody like that to really be one of our kind of bell cow safeties that can just play all over the field. I would 100% love to get that. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think this is a real focus for me. Because I kind of like who we have. And with the exception of Byard, and I know your guy, Nick Cross, this guy. With the exception of those guys, like I could take it or leave it. I will say somebody that I have been a fan of since college, Kobe Bryant. And what he was doing coming out of Cincinnati, I would love to see if he could, replicate that with us. But other than that, this is where I would look draft, and I'm right there with you on potentially going at Caleb Downs.
So is Alex Stevens. He would go crazy.
Oh yeah. He's been calling for him for a while. So
yep.
So yeah, that's definitely it, man. Anything else? We're not going special teams or anything like that, right? Are you
leaving that? Well, we'll figure out what they do with the kicker situation, but I haven't looked at that stuff yet.
No, I haven't touched the kicker situation. So, and we already know we got our punter locked in for life. So
yes, we do.
We'll keep him. So look, that was the defense. And ladies and gentlemen, a lot of this is dependent potentially on who we get at defensive coordinator, how those defensive coaches and how that stuff all will play out, and who does Dan Quinn want. But those are just a couple of names that we kind of were looking at as to where we're thinking about going. Let us know what you're thinking about, who you think we should pick up on, what position do you think we should spend big money on? Do you think we should spend big money on a defense? That will play a major factor. Nathan Snell, appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate you watching this, man.
Thanks, Nathan. Yeah.
That will definitely play a major factor. So we'll definitely see. We'll see what happens, man. But I think it's about that time, ladies and gentlemen. Will, you ready to get out of here?
My computer's going to restart in 3 minutes.
I know it. So we got to. Hey, for my guy, Will Kramer, it is your boy, Sean Spencer. This has been Washington Football Weekly. Stay tuned for all the good stuff we got coming out. I believe tomorrow is Let's Talk Football Ladies Takeover at 8 p.m. here on YouTube. So you're going to want to check that out. All right. But for my guy, we're out of here. We'll see you on the next side. Peace, people.
Welcome to Washington Football Week with your host, one half of that dynamic duo, Sean Spencer, and South Carolina's finest, Will Kramer.
Don't play us if you're undefeated.
Where we celebrate past success